Starliner. Making contact at point 003.
Welcome to Live Action Star Wars. I'm James.
I'm Ralph.
And today we're talking about this little movie that you may have heard of once or twice, Star Wars.
Right. Did you watch it? Did you watch it?
I watched it last night. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we've seen it enough times. We don't need to watch it. But so, a couple of things came up where I was like, I never noticed that before. And Stevie had questions, and I think you could answer them about one of the character is in the movie.
I love that.
And I'm excited to talk about those.
See, I'm glad that you watched it with Stevie, because I watched it with Liz, and she's seen it before, of course, but not for a long time, and not since watching things like Obi-Wan or Andor.
Okay.
And I mean, we watched Return of the Jedi in theaters last week, and so she was like, okay, so yeah, that was the third one. This is the first one. So like, she knows Star Wars, but she's not as versed in it as we are.
Star Wars was also constructed in a way to watch it out of order.
Of course it was. So it doesn't matter. Like, that's the thing. Yeah. It's like it never matters when you watch which one. So watching it with those eyes, like a not fully fresh perspective, but like semi-fresh perspective, and after Ahsoka and or Obi-Wan Kenobi in particular, like these shows are now sort of, upon a rewatch, they're informing it, and I love that. They are additive. Like, however you feel about the shows, for me, they are.
When I was a kid, the most boring scene ever was the conference room. Like, I don't care about the conference room scene.
Yeah,
there's so much stuff that has been explained since now that it's like, okay, great. I'm also gonna so couple things. My Star Wars fatigue is real.
Yeah. You're sort of right in the thick of it, it feels like, at the moment.
And it's one of those things where I'm like, I look at our Invincipod show, which is coming back March 15th, I believe.
Yeah, that's the Friday, isn't it?
We'll have a trailer episode before then. And I get so excited about that show. I'm less excited about this show. And I'm like, do I even want to do this show? Like, Star Wars is blah. And then before we came on, I'm like, fuck, I miss talking to James. It's been 2 whole weeks.
It has
1 week. And so I'm like, okay, this is just an excuse to talk to James.
That's it. And I feel like Invincible, we're so hyped on the show that we're super focused on it. Whereas this is our, like, live action Star Wars is kind of, especially at the moment where we've gone through a lot of our list. We've hit all the major stuff, I feel. And we've got a while before like the next show is going, like, we don't even know when that's going to be yet. We're presuming the spring. So we've got a while. So when we do these every other week or whatever it'll be, it's just kind of we've got a loose topic, and then it's just a hangout. And like, thank you, audience, for sticking around. We hope you enjoy that. Like, you guys are a part of the show as well, and we love you guys getting involved. So, if there's things that you want to talk about, please let us know. And fuck it, we can talk about anything. It's great.
So watching Star Wars last night, and from now on, I'm going back to referring to it as Star Wars, because growing up it was Star Wars, Empire, and Jedi. That was it. Those were the movies. That's what I called them. I don't want to call it A New Hope.
I have no problem with A New Hope. But I always just refer to it as Star Wars. Again, I'm the same way. Like, growing up, it was Star Wars, Empire, and Jedi.
Yeah, and then I don't want to call it Star Wars 1977. I just want to call it Star Wars. But also, like, after watching it again last night, like, it made me be like, this is it. Like, I think I would be happy. I would be happy in my life if this was the only Star Wars thing ever.
It would still be,
the movie is so
my favorite.
Good.
It would still be like that movie that is so reverential.
And Empire is a perfect movie.
Yep.
I get it. But the thing I love about Star Wars is they don't explain shit. Nope. They don't explain anything. And ever since then, it's been explaining stuff, and I don't care. Nothing against Alex and Molly. I have no problem with Star Wars Explained.
You guys do a great job.
But it's such a pure movie. It's completely plot based. It's not story based. It's just about these guys. It's like Wizard of Oz.
Yeah. Here's
point A, and they're trying to get to this point, and then they do it, and then they defeat the bad guy.
And then there's a celebration. Yeah.
It doesn't get into, yes, Luke talks about his father, which is again like Wizard of Oz. Like there's the farm boy living with his aunt and uncle. Like, they don't explain anything about Dorothy's parents.
No.
But so they just explain like Vader's, or they talk about Luke's father and the Clone Wars.
And the only reason to talk about his father in Star Wars is to make Darth Vader a scary villain.
Yeah.
He's like,
because Darth Vader killed his dad.
Yeah. Darth Vader doesn't know or give a shit about Luke from beginning to end of this film. Like, he has no interest in that kid.
Right.
Other than he's a fucking rebel who I'm going to shoot down. That is the only time he thinks about it. It's that whole Don Draper, I don't think about you at all meme. Like, it's that. That's Darth Vader in this film. He is just the scary bad guy, and it gives Luke some stakes.
So here's my issue with the sequel trilogy, and I usually have nothing but good things to say about it. In The Force Awakens, Rey is just a scavenger who was left behind as a kid.
Yep.
The audience was the one that's like, well, I need to know who her parents are. But you don't.
There's going to be a through line here.
And I feel like that's because they've all seen Empire, and when they found out that Darth Vader was Luke's father, that they felt the need that they had to know what that was.
Yep.
And I kind of wish it just was left. Like, we had the Darth Vader is your father moment when we found out that Han Solo was Kylo Ren's father. Like, Kasdan and Abrams were trying to go back to where you didn't have to explain shit. But everybody, the fans were so up in arms, like, where does she come from? And Rian Johnson was like, it doesn't matter. It didn't matter until Lucas said that Darth Vader was it didn't matter who Luke was. It doesn't matter who Han Solo was. And again, I love the movie Solo.
Yep.
But again, I don't need the over explanation. But the Solo did it right too, where they didn't talk about his dad.
I love the books. I love all the stuff that adds to this stuff. I adore all that. I loved all the old EU. I love all the a lot of the new canon stuff. Like, I love all of that stuff. I love all of these films, but it's not necessary. It's not you don't need any of it. Star Wars is perfect on its own.
So can I equate this to another franchise series that this reminds me of? I know everybody loves the sequel. They think it's the greatest of the franchise, but I'm a huge fan of Terminator 1. I think Terminator 1 is a perfect movie. It's a standalone movie. It has a beginning, middle, and end. It has a loop. Everything since then is explaining and expanding on shit that doesn't need to be explained. Like, Terminator is a perfect movie. Terminator 2 was made because James Cameron made The Abyss, which was a huge flop, and he needed to make another movie, and that was the only deal he had, was you got to make a sequel to Terminator.
I didn't realize The Abyss was a flop. I don't like. Is that only?
No, I didn't. I don't think it made any money.
Yeah. Oh
wow. It definitely wasn't.
I know it wasn't the success that it's. Yeah.
But like Terminator 2, I find okay.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
Because it's just like, it's so unnecessary to the story of the first one. It doesn't expand on the story. It just is more stuff.
Mate, yeah. I mean, yeah, again, it's in the same way that Empire, I think, like, it does, but you could just take that first one on its own. Same with Alien and into Aliens. Like, it's same with The Matrix. Like, it's all of these things. Like, all of these films that start off and they are just a singular thing. Like, we're in such a time at the moment where things are created. There is no first movies. Because there's no standalone movies because things are made to be the first movie of a series.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, all the way up through to probably Iron Man, like things could be a first movie, and then if they worked and if there was a good idea for a story and a sequel, like they'd get it sometimes. But
yeah,
Back to the Future, same way, beginning, middle, and end with like a little dangly thing at the end, which was more of a throwaway, like, hey, isn't that fun? It flies now. But like, yeah, I don't know. It's a common complaint. It's a common complaint.
It's hard.
But I love all these sequels, but yeah.
Jeremy Kelly says Star Wars is great because it's the only movie you can watch that can stand on its own. You don't need anything else. I think that's one of my issues is the whole Disney Plus of it all. The over explanation, we watched the Bad Batch season 3 trailer yesterday, and it's look, there's Lama Sue and there's Ventress and it's just like,
if you don't
serve
know
the story, or is it cool that Cad Bane's there? Like, is it?
Like, it's, hey, if you've watched and loved Clone Wars and you've seen Ventress through all of that and you like her as a character, that's awesome, great, and I'm really happy. But it's season 3 of a show that you need to have watched 7 seasons of another show to understand. Even the trailer, like, that makes it season 10 of the Clone Wars
and a couple movies.
Like,
I'm sure. I don't know if the Kamino cloners were in the Clone Wars series.
They're in there when you're doing like the.
But you should probably watch Attack of the Clones
issues
in order to.
I mean, absolutely, you do need to watch Attack of the Clones, like to get any of the Clone Wars.
Same with the Bad Batch in episode 3.
Yeah,
like that first episode of Bad Batch, like centers around episode 3.
Yeah,
it's too much. I would love standalone stories, and I talk about this a lot, but like Michael Giacchino's Werewolf by Night, with all of this Disney Plus and all of the Marvel stuff going on,
it's a wonder that they ever agreed with it.
Story where he was just like, "No, we're not doing any of that."
Yeah,
and I kind of want that with Star Wars, and I guess I probably should watch Visions or read from a certain point of view, but I just want to sit down in the movie theater and be excited about something new. And I don't think Grogu and the Mandalorian is the thing I'm looking for. This movie, I was like, I just want to watch this movie forever. I could watch it on a loop forever. It's so good. And you know what I love about it? It's not flashy.
No.
If you look at the shots, there might be a dolly shot or two. Like there's a dolly shot in the Sandcrawler, but there's maybe a dolly shot when they're holding her as dangerous. Word of this gets out. It's like that, but there's no steady cams. There's no whip pans. There's no zooms. It's literally static.
When you need to go from
but the editing.
Yeah.
When you watch the scene,
and you get a wipe to the next thing, and then it's like you get movement in those wipes. Like people like to joke about George Lucas using all of the different wipes and stuff, but that's where you get some of that movement. Is through those.
That's straight from Flash Gordon too, though.
Yeah, I mean it's of its era. It's like, and that's what it's doing.
Yeah.
When we were watching this last night, Liz was sort of saying it's like it looks incredible for a movie that's nearly 50 years old. It looks so good. And we're watching it in 4K and like the Disney Plus version of it where it's the newest version and everything that you can stream. But it still looks incredible, which is a wonder because there are films that came out 3 years ago that look like shit. And it sounds great. It looks great. And she was amazed that there's just not much dialogue. Like in so many of those scenes, they let it breathe, and it's sort of trusting an audience, and it is of the time where you could have Luke standing there looking out at the sunset, and you know what he's thinking. You understand that call to adventure, that longing to be in a bigger universe, a bigger world, and everything. You don't need to have him explain it. You don't need. Like him or an internal monologue or another character or BB-8 stood there like to him to talk at just to explain how he feels in the moment. Like we get it. The audience gets it, and it's conveyed through emotion, through Mark Hamill's acting in his face, the shot composition, the music. It's filmmaking does it. It's not necessarily the writing. Or I mean, it is the writing because it's the lack of writing, and that is a part of it.
And I love that. So they mentioned the Clone Wars a couple times. This is 1977. This is just after Vietnam, and you have these old guys talking about the Clone Wars. At the time, I'm sure everyone in the theater was like, "Oh, Clone Wars is their version of like World War II or the Korean War or something." Like it's like something where like
it's past.
Yeah, you don't. It's just the war in the past, and so it's like the perfect storytelling. And yes, we now know what all of that is, thanks to George Lucas and Dave Filoni with their animated series.
I mean, that wasn't the idea series. When it started. I don't give a shit what anyone says. Like, there's no way that what we have now is the idea, because that is so much informed by the times, by post 9/11 war in Iraq and everything. That is what informed the prequels and then the Clone Wars. But just this idea, maybe he had an idea, maybe he had no idea, and it was just a cool term. But it's that war in the past. It could have been the Great War, World War II. Like, it could have been whatever.
Yeah. I love the editing in this movie. I was watching the scene. I noticed it in the scene where Uncle Owen is buying the droids, and it's just like it's a shot to Luke and C-3PO. Then it's a shot to Uncle Owen. Hey, what are you trying to push on us? Back to Luke and 3PO saying, "What about that blue one? Show the blue one." Cut to Uncle Owen. What about that blue one? And 3PO explaining, "Oh, I worked with that one before." And it's like, if you look at the editing, there's shots in there that are like 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Yeah. And one of the things you learn in the from Star Wars: The Jedi is George Lucas talks about the sail barge. He's like, most sci-fi movies, if they build a set like this, they're just going to have these long shots of them showing off the set. Where in my movie, we just do quick cuts. You see a little bit here and a little bit there. And I feel
it makes
like
it feel real.
That's what the new ones are doing, is showing everything. And I mean, Lucas did that with the landing of all the ships on all the new planets in the prequels. But at the same time, I feel like he kind of earned that. But well,
that's it. He did that, and then all the stuff has been following that. And like, he looks back on it and he's like, well, if I had the budget to, if I was able to do it back then, I probably would. And maybe he would have, but he didn't. And it's for the benefit. Like, this movie wouldn't have been as good if it had the budget that he had for episode 1. Like, it benefits so much from what it doesn't have in it.
Yeah. But there's the simplicity of the camera. It's small tilts, small pans. Compositions are amazing. There's that shot of Vader holding up Captain Antilles in the middle of the frame, and you have these 2 big doorways on either side with flanking stormtroopers, and I'm just like, look at this shot. The shot's amazing. This is a camera crew with a film camera setting up a camera to get footage, and Marcia Lucas coming in and being like, we'll see like 4 seconds of this shot.
Yeah.
And it's like that 4 seconds leaves an impression to where you're like, it goes by so fast. You're like, what did I not get to see in that shot?
So the one for me, it's a nothing burger of a shot, really, but it sticks with me. And it's something that when I was watching it last night, I was like, that shot is like, it takes me back to childhood. It's one of my earliest memories is the shot. It's in the sandcrawler, and it's when you first cut over to the gonk droid, and it's kind of got like a road in front of him. It's how my child brain always sort of thought of it. He's got this clean bit, and obviously it's so that they can actually run the droids over the top of it, but he's kind of got this thing, and then he steps out, and it's almost like he's looking before he crosses the road. And it's again, that's the same sort of thing. It's such a simple thing with just junk everywhere. But the way it's framed, you know what you're focusing on. You know what the important bit of it is.
Here's what Lucas did. And I just figured this out, and it made me very excited. When you go to the cantina, and same with the Sandcrawler, is you see a shot of that smiley droid, a shot of like the Death Star droid, and this, you just see shots.
Quick
when you get the cantina, you get a pan of the whole cantina, you get a shot of this alien, a shot of this alien. It's leaving impressions in your brain.
It's going, hey, look at these masks. It's literally just showing off masks, but it's so good.
It's basically photographs. It's
Yeah.
imprinting photographs into your retinas, and it goes away before you're able to fully process what you saw. And that makes
that's
it
why
crazy.
those aliens, those Cantina aliens, are more memorable than any other aliens in Star Wars, and they
Right.
always will be, because they
Right.
are probably everyone's first look at Star Wars aliens.
Now,
And
but now cut to Maz's castle.
Yeah.
Which is J.J. Abrams' version of the Cantina. And he does a tracking shot through it, and you're following. But when you're following, your eye gets to decide what to look at. It's not leaving impressions on your brain. And so you do the tracking shot and you see what you want to see, and you get to focus on what you want to focus. It's JJ allowing the viewer to be immersed in this place, as opposed to George Lucas saying, I'm going to give you an idea of what this place is, but it's going to go by so fast that your brain is going to fill in the gaps on what corners you didn't see, as opposed to seeing the whole thing in one shot. I would much rather have George Lucas's version than JJ's, even though JJ's fine. I like JJ Abrams.
Yeah.
I want him in my movie. I've called his office and left messages on his entry machine. So JJ, we talked about Rise of Skywalker. Go back, watch the tapes. We like your Star Wars. But there's something different about you don't.
To be fair,
know
I think JJ would probably say he likes George more than JJ as well. So
yeah,
I don't think he's going to be I don't think he's going to be annoyed by that statement.
But George is showing us little corners of this place, but we're not sure he's showing us everything. So our brain, our imagination goes crazy.
What else is there?
AJ shows us the exact layout of the entire Maz's castle, so there's nothing left to the imagination. You get to see everything. So in that respect,
it's one of the incredible cross sections books more than yeah.
And I don't know if Steadicams were really prevalent back in '77. I think like I want to say something like Halloween, or like I know they used it in Stripes. Like Steadicam became like a thing. So there are the limitations, and that might be why George Lucas did it that way. But also, he probably we know he did reshoots on the Cantina, so he probably had one little corner set where he put in different aliens to shoot at different angles in that one little set.
Alcove, yeah.
But it made it great, and made it like people. You watch people talk about the Cantina scene. Mostly, I like we heard about the Richard Pryor sketch on the Richard Pryor show with the Cantina, how like that was a big deal back then. Bill Murray on Saturday Night Live singing the Star Wars lounge song and talking about the Cantina and all the crazy creatures, and they're like, it left an impression on people.
It's always the one that's parodied first. Is that scene?
Yeah. So
I loved watching it this time around. I was just watching the background, like not when we cut to them and we get their oneers, but like watching all those guys and sort of spotting that layout, figuring out that layout, or where they all sort of were in the Cantina. So looking for the Ithorian, looking for like the everyone else in there, looking for the Trandoshan, the Deveronian,
the Duros, and
the Duros guys. I love those pilots, and they're just having an argument in the corner. Like, what are they negotiating? And it's brilliant. Yeah. They're there.
So
like the Tonica sisters are obviously like one that everyone sees, but because they're human. But it's watching the acting that's done by all the others.
Yeah,
I don't think I'd ever noticed that Snaggletooth was between Dr. Evazan and Panda Baba before. Like until this time around, I didn't realize that he was between the two of them getting his drink.
Yeah, one of the things that I lost my train of thought. What was it? So George Lucas just gives us one establishing shot of Luke's point of view, looking at this crazy place. But I bet you, like, if you were to draw the layout of the Cantina and I were to draw the layout of the Cantina, it would be completely different. I don't think you can't really get a good sense of the geography in there, because like when it cuts to the Tonica sisters, it looks like a completely almost different room. It doesn't look like they're the same bar as everybody else. Like the lighting's different. But when I saw the Cantina in The Mandalorian, it did not look like the same place. And I'm
Oh,
sure they
interesting.
had some sort of schematics, but it just didn't look right to me.
So for me, I think I couldn't do it raw because my memory is so skewed now. It's so sort of influenced by incredible cross sections, books, toys,
Right.
seeing behind the scenes stuff of the sort of the layout of it. Like I can see it. I know the top down layout of that cantina so much, and that's why in Mandalorian when we're in there, it is that it is the same as that,
Yeah.
but that's only skewed from what I've like seen and read and looked at outside of the film itself. But I
Yeah.
completely
It,
understand. Like I was always like,
there's-
well, where did Luke and Obi-Wan hide? Where did they run off to when the stormtroopers were coming in? Because
yeah.
the door's behind them. Like, how do they get
Yeah.
out? Yeah,
Yeah. They must have cleared through the back. I think it's the radio drama that says they slipped out the back.
snuck out the back. Yeah, I think it
Like,
does.
yeah. Okay. I want to bring up some other stuff about this movie versus Mandalorian, but
Great.
before we do that, we're already 26 minutes in and we haven't said hi to everybody. So I want to say
That's
hi
how
to
good Star
everybody
Wars is.
because it's been a long time since
It
we've
has.
talked to.
Long time.
Stevie's here, Jeremy's here. Unfortunately, his kid is sick, but it allowed him
Oh.
to be live for the show. Hope your kid gets
hope he
well
gets.
soon.
Yeah, I hope he gets better soon.
My sister's here. Everybody's giving well wishes to Jeremy's son. Johnny was here. He's going to watch later. Scott D. We need to talk about the trash compactor, Scott, in a little bit because that's what Stevie had some questions about, and
Okay.
James might be able to help us, but I might be able to. I came up with an idea where I think I could help Stevie out with that.
Okay. Cool. I'm excited.
Who else we got? Is that Allison's here? Allison's very excited that we're talking about Star Wars. She on my Discord channel. If you're on my Discord, if you're on my Patreon, you'll get access to my Discord channel. Here's the thing, guys. I don't know if anybody knows this, but like people on my Discord get the inside scoop on the movie I'm doing. Like fucking like everybody's been terrific and hasn't like leaked any of the stuff I've said, but yeah, it's a fun place to hang out. Ian's
I'm
here.
not there often, but I do pop in every now and then, and yes, it is a very fun place to hang out.
So one thing that I noticed in this movie that I think is done way better than The Mandalorian, because I was watching this, and if you follow me on Blue Sky, which you should at, well, I guess Ralph D. Opple, but you could also follow me at Casino Skunk. I mentioned that the cockpit shots in this movie are the best cockpit shots of all the Star Wars. It's my watching it was my high water mark. My low water mark is the episode with Trapper Wolf when they do the prison escape episode.
Oh yeah.
It just looks like those look like Rebel Assault footage. I'm sorry, but it just doesn't look right. There's something
weird.
about it's something about like I don't get it because the template was there from the start.
Yeah, you had it.
Really dark cockpits, which they should be really dark. Maybe the instruments light up. Empire has good, like the original trilogy has good cockpit stuff.
I love the Seven Jedi. Yeah,
but how fast the shadows of the cockpit canopy flies across the pilot's face in this in every direction.
Yeah,
it's so good. It's shot so well. It really like the
you
darkness.
You never question it, and it's again, and like a 45-year-old movie, like it's nuts that it just captivates. It grabs you, and you know exactly what they're doing with it all the time.
Yeah, and again, it's a fairly nice static shot. You can tell they're on a gimp. You could tell they're shaking the cockpit, but just seeing the shadow sweep across Luke's face from the cockpit bar support things.
Yeah.
And they may not match up with the footage. I don't think it matches up with the footage, but just seeing the shadows go by so fast, that's where you get your movement from. You don't get movement from the camera, but you get movement from the shadows. Like, you know, it's moving. The sequel trilogy ones I don't think look great. I think Gareth Edwards did a good job with the cockpit stuff.
But again, because his movie was set so close, I feel like there was that, and because they were using the footage from this
so much. Yeah.
And it's like okay, they have to match up. They have to be as close as they possibly can. But I mean, even then, like we get a bit more dynamic movement and stuff in the Rogue One cockpit. It's the X-wing cockpits they match Star Wars. The X-wings and the Y-wings match Star Wars. And that's sort of where you need it to in that film.
I feel like even the episode 1 cockpits aren't as good as this.
What with
the
Naboo?
Well, I guess the Naboo has the big bubbles, so there's no shadows to go across. Those are okay, but I just feel like, and I think JJ did a good job using them, like doing like GoPros.
Yeah,
that kind of worked okay, but
even they felt, I don't know, they felt maybe a bit too close sometimes. Like I didn't get a sense of what that new X-wing felt like in that cockpit. I don't know what it was. Yeah.
But nothing beats these. Nothing beats these. 2 weeks ago we talked about Wedge Nonstop. I very much enjoyed Wedge in this one.
Yeah. Did you spot him at the end when Luke's getting out of his cockpit with his big hair?
No, I didn't.
Oh, he's there. He's there. Like he comes running up as well. Sort of from the nose of Luke's X-wing. He's there all smiling and everything. And he's got big old hair. And that's the Dennis Lawson shot, like more than obviously fake Wedge.
Fake Wedge.
Yeah. Who watching this, there was never, like, Liz knows my love of Wedge Antilles, and there was never a question in her mind that kid sat next to Luke was Wedge. It was just, there's that guy, and then
I never thought it was.
No. And then it was when they're in the Red 5, calling it like and it's when it gets to Red 2, she was like, "Is that?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's Wedge."
Okay. So the story goes that Dennis Lawson ADR'd that guy's voice. Is that the deal?
I don't know. We'd need to go back and listen to season 1 of Star Wars Minute or something. Like I
believe that's the case. That pilot that's sitting next to Luke, Dennis Lawson, ended up doing the ADR for that guy because he might have been on set or in the recording studio. If you read a further point of view, I believe there's a story about that fake Wedge.
Yep.
And he was a pilot that was grounded and was going to impersonate Wedge to get on a ship.
Right. Yes. God, it's been a few years since I read that first from a certain point of view, but yeah, that sounds right.
So he was able to imitate Wedge's voice, was the story. And I'm assuming once he got in a ship, that's all he needed to be identified. If he's sitting in Wedge's cockpit and they hear his voice, they don't know. That's the story, and from a certain point of view. I'm sure there's another story in a certain point of view Stevie had questions about. The Dianoga?
Yes, that's the one that I was going to
Okay, so here's what she was saying. She's like, "Hey, how did it get in there? And how does it not get crushed?" And I said, "Okay, well, listen." And the sound of the garbage compactor, the garbage masher firing up makes a sound, and then Luke is released and says, "I don't know, he just took off," because it's so used to knowing that the garbage masher,
that sound, it then just sort of scurries off down probably a pipe or whatever, because all that liquid's going somewhere as well. Like there is a drain in there.
Yeah. And then we were wondering how it got in there. I think it's in a certain point of view, but she had the idea that it was a pet of a stormtrooper that got too big, and the stormtrooper dumped it into the trash, and that's where it lived. I had a theory that it's like a septic tank, and septic tanks are filled with bacteria that eat like nasty waste. And I'm like, a Death Star that size, they can compact the trash and metal and those things into cubes and either recycle them or do whatever they need to do. But they have the bacteria or the Dianoga in there to take care of the organic stuff.
It just goes nom 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 and eats all the rest of that. Yeah. I can't remember specifically, and when I was watching it, I was trying to remember exactly what that story was, but I was getting it mixed up with the Sarlacc story from the Return of the Jedi, from a certain point of view, which is, I believe it's a similar sort of story, but that one's fascinating because what a tragic character the Sarlacc is in that one. Like you see from his or its point of view, Tatooine when it's all lush and green, and he chooses that planet because it's beautiful and wants to spend its time there. But then goes to sleep for a few thousand years, wakes up and it's a fucking desert and there's nothing going on. And then he just wants to make friends. All of the time that he's quote unquote eating people, he just wants to make friends. He just wants people to talk to.
Yeah.
Hates Boba Fett. Hates Boba Fett so much because Boba Fett just like starts burning it.
Yeah, Boba Fett's a real piece of shit. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Obi-Wan's a racist though, calling them Sand people. Luke too.
I mean, I was just assuming that's what their name was at the time.
I mean, we all were, yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it says that. Does it say in the? I can grab. I don't want to. I'm going to do it. I'm going to see what they called it in the Kenner.
Pretty sure it was Sand people.
But you can only fit one in. So did it say Sand person?
Ooh, I'm going to say. Let's say.
Oh, it does say Sand people, but also there's a trademark.
Yeah, people, not for sand.
So does Power Droid also trademark? All these are trademarked.
Wow.
Even Rebel Snow Soldier.
I mean, we're only a few years away before. Is it 50 years or 100 years? Is it 100 years before things?
Stormtroopers trademark? That doesn't seem right.
No, because there's a brand over here. I don't know if you guys have it over there called Original Stormtrooper. And I was looking into it because someone got me something. I can't remember exactly what it was. Something. Oh, it was a jigsaw puzzle. It was an Original Stormtrooper jigsaw puzzle. Nowhere on any of their stuff. They sell beer, they sell shaving cream, they sell all sorts of shit. And nowhere ever does it say Star Wars on it. And I'm like, how do they get away with this? Because it's just Stormtrooper helmets and suits. And I was reading on the back of this jigsaw, and it was taken from the casts made for the first episode. That's what they say. They don't say of Star Wars or of that movie. It's of the first episode. And it's one of the guys who worked at Elstree, not Elstree. Elstree.
Yeah.
Worked at Elstree, who was in the factory, basically in the craft shop making this stuff. I guess has some claim to the rights, and his family have just made it, and now there's just Stormtrooper merch out that isn't Star Wars related.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's wild. Yeah. There's loads. Again, I bet it's the sort of thing that it's a loophole, so it's maybe only sold in the UK or something like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's probably a US trademark. Also, Stormtrooper is just it's a phrase. I don't think that you can
it's been a trademark. Yeah.
Allison says Sand people is colloquial. Let's talk about Walrus Man.
Or Hammerhead or any of the other things that were named by toys. Kenner's responsible for a lot of this. Obi-Wan is also a fucking liar. If you want to take all the stuff that's come out since, which again, watching this with Liz, her first time since watching Obi-Wan Kenobi and all of these things, and Obi-Wan and Ahsoka, sorry, where we see some more of Anakin. When he says Vader betrayed and murdered your father, she's like, oh, as if that's just a bold-faced lie that you're telling this kid. That's not cool.
Well, that's the one thing. That's one of the things that the Obi-Wan series did. Remember when the battle with the rocks, Darth Vader says, you didn't give him the satisfaction. I killed him. You didn't get to kill Anakin. I did it.
Yeah.
And so it makes sense in that scene.
It does.
I know people will see that scene and just be like, oh, it's just to explain why the moment before.
That is a dude grieving, and that is how he's coping with his grief.
But also when Luke, this is the first time he's talked to Luke since he was a kid. We knew that from Star Wars. He knew old Ben.
He'd been around, he'd been this figure, but someone that he'd probably, maybe they'd seen him in Anchorhead, and Ben had, Owen had sort of
heard stories don't talk to that guy.
Don't talk to him. He's a crazy old wizard.
It's the old man from Home Alone.
Yes, exactly.
There's been a thing built up. You know about the old man. You've seen the old man from Home Alone, but you don't really know his story.
Yeah.
But now Luke, he's confronted with Luke, Leia was just dumped into his lap. Luke is now dumped into his lap, and Luke asks, "What happened to my father?" And Alec Guinness, I don't know if he was directed this way, takes a pause, takes a big deep gulp, and then says this.
I'm gonna say something
and
right now.
It might be him sort of letting go of the fact that Vader isn't my fault.
Yeah. Which he got to by the end of the series. I feel like that was the point of that series is and that fight. And that's why he walked away. People complained that, why didn't you finish the job? Why didn't you just kill him that time around? It's like, he's washing his hands of it. He's getting over it. It's a story of grief.
And what works also is he's weak in the Force. Like, the Force in the Obi-Wan series is essentially Obi-Wan's ED. He can't get it up. And so when he shows up to the Death Star in this, and this is all retroactive stuff, like, but it helps kind of tell the story. When Tarkin and Vader are talking about Obi-Wan's here, and
must be dead by now.
He's like, and he's strong with the Force. Like, he's brought the Force with him, meaning he got over whatever he needed to get over.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of Force with him. Also, could that Force that he brought be Luke? And his Vader's mind's clouded.
Yeah, he's feeling it. I mean, that's why at the end he's like, the Force is strong with this one. It's like, it's almost like he brought the Force with him and it didn't leave when I killed him. What the fuck? Like, why? Why is it still kicking around? I love that read of it. I like those shows. I like them fully anyway, but I really like them for what they do for this, because all right, I've read loads of the old EU in the 90s and everything like that, 90s and 2000s, and they were great. And I feel like audience have got so hung up on the stuff that was in that and the way that they have perceived it, the things that they have written for themselves. They've fan written this stuff. And so when these new shows come out, they're like, oh, it's trash. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't line up with this, or it doesn't line up with this, or they're just trying to retcon this. And it's like, no one ever claims to not know what a Jedi is. Luke, when it was like, I was a Jedi Knight, the same as your father. Luke is like, he doesn't know what the Force is, but it's not like he's a Jedi. What's a Jedi? He might have heard tales about Jedi. So when everyone is like, why does everyone know who the Jedi are? Why it's only been 20 years? Why, like, they haven't forgotten about the Jedi. Like, the Jedi still exist. They just have been wiped out. Or the guys around the conference table. It's like, Sorcerer's ways, like, it's your old religion. That old religion that got wiped out, remember? You helped wipe it out. They've been around. They were probably young officers of the Republic at the time, like, and now they've risen up through the ranks. Like Tarkin. Like, Tarkin's the guy who prosecuted Ahsoka, for Christ's sake. Like, they all were there during the Clone Wars. They all remember it, but they also know that it's done. The Jedi have been wiped out, and the Inquisitorius in their minds are still out there, wiping out any Force users. So there's no problem. There's no conflict that people seem to have built up, because in those books, they were being written from a point of view where the Clone Wars was longer ago. The Jedi were a myth and not known about. So characters were coming in, a Jedi, what's a Jedi? Like, and it was stories that were written around then. It's like, that's not how this film ever played it.
Yeah. The way the lines, every line with like Vader and Obi-Wan in the different scenes, like Tarkin or with Luke or whatever, like, has new meaning. And I think that's what, make those stories good, makes those other ones good, because you can tell that they're really looking into every detail when they make the Obi-Wan show or Andor.
Like,
or
that's what
what
the story group is doing. Like, they are going deep on those scenes, the scenes that specifically reference this stuff, and going, right, everything that we write has to be able to line up with it. Forget everything else. If it's in these movies, it can line up with the stuff that we write.
it changes the meaning to lines that we've known
Absolutely.
for 46 years. It's
a Mandela effect that people have of what those lines mean.
Yeah.
But they don't mean that now. If you want to include all this new stuff, they don't mean that now. And that's kind of fun because for me, I'm like, yeah, I get to discover these scenes again as if they're fresh and brand new. If I watch this with the mindset that I'm watching it after watching Obi-Wan and it's just chronological order, then it's cool. It's exciting because you're like, oh shit, why is he lying to Luke about that? Like, why is he saying this? Why is he saying it like that? I'm like, oh, maybe, okay. And all right, Luke doesn't know about the Force, but he might have heard about Jedi and things like that. So yeah, it's fascinating. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. So I mean, people who bitch and complain about whatever they bitch and complain about with the Disney Plus series, and again, I'm kind of tired of them and the over explanation. But at least I know that they're focused enough and they're paying close enough attention to where it works. It makes sense.
I mean, the hope at the moment is that the next couple of shows, at the very least, we don't have to worry about any of that because they'll be in such different timeframes and locations and things like that. They just won't come up. They can just write original stories, that's the dream right there.
I have high hopes for Skeleton Crew being just a Star Wars thing you can watch without having to watch any other Star Wars thing.
Yeah, me too. And Acolyte, similar. Like, you might need to know what a Jedi is, you might need to know what a Sith is, but outside of that, just tell me a story, tell me a fun story. And people that have seen early stuff of it, like, there is some early buzz, and all right, you can take that or leave it, but the very, very early buzz from the select few that have been able to see stuff is that it's cool and it's really good, and that's exciting. So we'll see when we get it. I do have something to bitch about. And I think I brought it up when we talked about Rogue One. And it's not a bitch about this. It's a bitch about Rogue One. And it's the same thing that I've had since I saw it in theaters for the first time. I don't mind the Tarkin body double or the face stuff in Rogue One. I like that Tarkin's in that story. I think it fits and it makes sense. I think it's performed really well. The guy who was on set and then the digital effects and stuff like that. Talk to me in another 5 years and it'll probably look like shit. But at the moment, I can still buy it. It's not as good as it would be if they did it today, but it looks fine. Should it exist? Probably not. I don't know how I feel about it morally, but I like it in a story thing. He's too fucking tall in Rogue One. And it really bugs me, and I don't know why. So I think the reason he's that tall is because Peter Cushing's quite a tall guy, as far as I'm aware, but you watch him in this, or they want it like against Vader, like he whatever. You watch him in this, and like Motti and a couple of the other guys they've got some inches over Tarkin. Tarkin doesn't look big and tall and imposing like that.
Yeah,
he's imposing because they
had to have found someone the same height though, and it was just the way Gareth Edwards shot him. It must have just there's no way they're going to hire someone way taller.
I don't know. I mean, and even if they did, they could have shrunk him down. Like, they could have just, I don't know, they could have done something with it. I think, is it just that Ben Mendelsohn's really short? Is Ben Mendelsohn just really... Okay.
Peter Cushing 6'0". I'm gonna look up the body double. I don't know let me see how tall Ben Mendelsohn.
Because it could just be that most of the time we see him, he's next to Ben Mendelsohn.
He's 5'11".
There you go. So not that much different.
So an inch taller. Peter Cushing. Let me look up Peter Cushing body double Rogue One. Who's the body double?
Yeah, that's the problem.
Let me see.
But yeah, I don't know what it is. It's such a little thing. It is such a minor-key little detail that if I saw people complaining about it online, I'd be like, "Oh, shut the fuck up and enjoy the film." Like, it's nothing, but it just bugs me.
Okay. So Guy Henry is 6'4", so he's 4 inches taller than Peter Cushing. But it should have been shot maybe differently.
I think so.
But I mean, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I don't mind it. If that's the biggest complaint that I have about Rogue One, then that's a pretty good sign that Rogue One rules.
There's a 4-inch problem
And then you put him
Palpatine's like
against
4 inches.
Mendelsohn, who is a little bit shorter and everything. It's just like, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's this weird thing where I'm like, man, Rogue One definitely adds to this story. Obi-Wan adds to this story. Andor adds to the Rogue One story, and but I'm still like, I can just go with just Star Wars, just this movie.
I think the stuff that we haven't mentioned in Obi-Wan that really adds to this is the Leia of it all. Like the fact that message, like they sent Leia to deliver this message, and that goes back to Rogue One as well, where you see Bail Organa sort of saying, like, I would trust her with my life, and of course he's gonna send Leia because they've got this connection.
He knows,
Obi-Wan is never ever going to refuse that call. Like whether Luke comes into his life or not, if Leia manages to land and deliver the message in person, Obi-Wan is gone. Obi-Wan is on that mission, and Luke's left on the farm. But like, he's never turning that down. He doesn't need Luke to get involved in this adventure at this point. It's just really interesting. It's Leia that gets him involved. If Luke had gone home and Owen and Beru had been alive and Luke had decided to stay, Obi-Wan's still going with the droids. It's fun. It's a fun thing. And again, there's no contradiction there because there's no...
That's the best part.
It really makes you go, Obi-Wan's cleverly written. It's very cleverly written.
I really like that show. I think there's a lot of good stuff. I might revisit it. In fact, I mean, it might be a little premature, but I think I'm ready for my what our next pick is going to be.
I mean, hit me. I think that's a good time.
I don't know the name of it, but I haven't watched the Disney Gallery making of the Obi-Wan series.
I think I did. I can't remember. We haven't covered it though, have we?
No, we definitely haven't covered it.
Cool. Let's do it.
I haven't watched it, so I would like to revisit Obi-Wan, which is funny because this is the second time we've covered Star Wars. The last time we covered Star Wars, it was the week after Obi-Wan finished. And that was more Obi-Wan centric. So I'm sure we talked about this stuff on
almost
that episode
certainly
as well. Yeah.
I couldn't even remember if we had covered it or not.
But there's I mentioned this earlier and I don't want to not mention it. There's something I noticed that I've never noticed before in this movie. When the Y-Wings are starting to make their attack on the trench. There's a shot. It's a side shot of the 3 Y-Wings. It's like a silhouette of the Y-Wings coming down. There's three of them, and they're coming down into frame like this. The one that's on the far left completely disappears before it exits frame.
Interesting.
It's like one frame before it cuts away. It just is gone.
Couple of things that I noticed with the dogfight is, or the end, like the Battle of Yavin, is I'd never heard the voiceover, the Tannoy saying Gold Squadron, begin your takeoff procedures or something like that, which I really liked. Just hearing that over, it's similar to in Rogue One where you get the General Syndulla, please report to the briefing room. It's similar to that. I'm just like, cool, there's a little shout out, and you know that the Y-Wings are getting off first because they're fun.
All the shots.
Liz remembered that the Y-Wings that they're using there are the same Y-Wings that the Ghost Crew steal in season 2 or 3 of Rebels.
Right.
Like that's why those Y-Wings exist there.
The shots of like the guy at the light board at the map doing the little light thing with the droids in the background, like
those mustaches,
and the guys over the controls with the with being lit up by the computer screens with
green. It's such an iconic green.
It's all like straight up like shots you'd see in THX. And they're like, oh, this is the director of THX. Like those moments where it's just you hear radio chatter and people looking at monitors is so THX. And it makes me happy.
You're never gonna like figure out exactly what they're doing. It's just like lines, and they did it the same thing like with the Nazis in, like, I think about the scene in the castle in Last Crusade. Same sort of thing. It's like a map room, it's a briefing room, it's just people working. It's they're doing their job, and it
Yeah.
adds so much like texture to those scenes. I love it. Love it.
Yeah. This movie is perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. There might be some nitpicky stuff, like depending on which version you're watching. I watched the McClunky version because
I love
my hard
McClunky.
drive is it sticks out like a sore thumb because
It really
I've
does.
watched this movie a certain way for like 20 years, and then a different way
Still took
for
me.
another 20 years, and then
Yeah.
now this is the newest way, is it says McClunky, and
It
I've
still
gotten
took me
used.
by surprise.
Yeah, but I mean, as far as it goes, like it's just such a little perfect movie.
Yep.
It's my
It's
favorite movie
that's
of
it.
all time.
It is a little movie. It is
Yeah.
a little movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone on Blue Sky was saying something to the effect that they're hoping to get some director that did some small movie this year. I don't remember who. I don't remember who said it, but they're like, oh, I wonder if they would be good for a Star Wars if they could deal with like the big budget, like Star
But me
Wars
too.
grandiose thing. It doesn't need to be. Make
Make it
that
small.
movie. It's
Yeah.
Star Wars.
I'd like to see Gareth Edwards do one of his smaller movies, like come back, like you did Rogue One, that was great, but like come back and do like monsters in Star
You see
Wars.
the creator?
I liked it a lot. We talked
I
about
really
it.
like the creator. Yeah.
We might have done a data link on it, but yeah, I fucking loved it. Like I get why people didn't like it, but I've heard so many people sort of saying they had high expectations of this like grand thing. I'm like, it met my expectations perfectly, because I'm not expecting like a groundbreaking plot or anything like that, but it's one of the best looking films I saw all of last year.
It was an $80 million budget.
Yeah.
And it looked better than
fucking anything.
Some of the stuff that's come out. Like, and also it's an original IP. It's not some like you gotta realize, like,
it reminded me most of Monsters of all of his films, like just because of it felt like Monsters but with a bigger budget. Like Monsters was made on nothing, like but it felt like that same sort of thing.
Shooting in real places and then
real places, quite
CG
exotic
skin on top of it to expand
a bit of a road movie as well, like
and it just
I loved it.
Like Lucasfilm, just give him, like, you give him 80 million, you're gonna get a cinematic Star Wars movie that looks amazing.
He's one of those directors, and he's not made many films yet, but I've loved every one of them, and they've all been similar enough, but they've all been very like personal.
It's so funny
stories,
because Monsters super low budget got him Godzilla.
Yeah,
Godzilla got him Rogue One, and then he's just like, all right, I'm gonna go do my own thing.
Yeah. But took his time with it. I feel like because of the Rogue One stuff and because of the quote unquote controversy there, I don't know if he was necessarily sat in like director's jail for a while, but I think people were probably asking questions about what was going on there. Like they probably wanted a deeper explanation than we got in like random reports. But I mean, even when he was doing press for the creator, he talked about it and talked about it very openly about like how it all played out.
I talked to him post Rogue One, and he said it was tiring.
There's no hard feelings there. Like
it's tiring. He was happy to talk about it with me, and he still loved talking about this movie, Star Wars. So there's no animosity, there's no hard feelings, he still loves Star Wars, and give him some. Just, I mean, what is Lucasfilm? If Lucasfilm were to make, I guarantee you, any Star Wars show that they've produced costs more than 80 million.
I would have thought.
I guarantee you, even like Book of Boba Fett, which had a shorter season, or Obi-Wan, which had a shorter season. I guarantee you that was more
a lot of that budget's going to Ewan, I would have thought. But
but he's probably a producer, so he probably gets something on the back end. But like just let him go do his thing, if he wants to.
If he wants to, that's it. He's done it. He's played in that now. Like he might not be someone who wants to come back. Like unlike Ryan's got an idea that he wants to do, but it's if he's done, if he's sort of scratched that itch, great. I'm happy for him.
So the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, which was what, 6 episodes?
Yeah.
It was short. Was 90 million to make.
Uh,
The Mandalorian budget is 4 times of that.
fucking hell. Why?
So
Where does it go? Like,
listen, give Gareth 80 million to do whatever he wants.
Right.
Don't meddle. Just release it in theaters. You're going to make that back opening weekend at least. And then that's it. Put it on Disney Plus. It costs the same amount as your show, and you're getting people on the streamers, and you're getting people in theaters. Like,
yeah,
80 million to them is nothing. Clearly,
yeah, right. Yeah.
Make it
that's one of their like quick drops that, like, yeah, cool. We'll just put this straight on streaming. Like, it's nothing.
I want to go to a theater. I want to sit down, and I want to be surprised by Star Wars the same way I was surprised by the creator.
Oh wow.
Yeah, no.
Imagine that.
Yeah, I don't.
One day, maybe, hopefully.
One day, but Gareth is the one. Let him go. Let him do his thing. You know, he was confined to a specific story, even though he loves Star Wars, and he got to do something set in 1977 Star Wars universe. I guarantee you, he'd probably love to just do.
I was about to ask, like, if you could, like, give him any IP, like, to play with and to do a version of, and then I was like, I don't have an answer. I don't want. He's done it, and I don't want him to do another IP. I'd like kids to do original stuff, unless he wants.
So as far as but here's the thing. So as far as stuff that I like, he's done Star Wars. He's done Godzilla. So
I would do Green Lantern,
and James Bond. Like, let him. Well, James Bond. I think his pacing wouldn't lend itself to a James Bond movie. Not a Green Lantern. I don't know, man. With what he did with the creator and what I see, like, DC doing, where it's just all CG. Like, let's get Green Lantern on some planets that just happen to look like Hawaii or Cambodia or wherever he shot stuff. Like, make it look real. But I don't know, man. Those MonsterVerse movies, like, you look at Skull Island and Godzilla, and like, they go and shoot in real places, and the Godzilla vs. Kong looks like a lot of CG green screen stuff. But I just want.
Would you be all right with Scoot McNairy as
Hal Jordan? No,
Hal.
He's too old. No.
Okay. But what if it's what if it's a Hal Jordan that also has a Kyle Rayner, like, in the film?
The problem with that is Kyle Rayner became the Green Lantern because Hal Jordan
was gone. Yeah.
So that doesn't make sense. But did I keep hearing? I heard rumors that Damon Lindelof's working on the Green Lantern series, which is great. But then I heard rumors that Patrick.
I think you told me that rumor. I think you perpetuated that rumor.
Patrick Schwarzenegger may be playing Hal, and I don't. Apparently, he's a good actor. I haven't seen anything. He's going to be in the next White Lotus, I guess.
Yeah, I saw the news of that, and I think he was in something else recently that someone liked.
He looks like a Hal Jordan, so I don't know, man. Okay. Like, just
what's his name? Who is? I just saw a trailer with him in. He was what's his name in Top Gun Maverick? He's in loads of stuff. He's like the all-American guy at the
Miles Teller.
No, he was the dickhead who came around in.
Right. Yeah. He was just in like a romantic comedy or something.
Yeah, he's been in a few things. Yeah. Oh, what's his name? He's in loads of stuff.
He's fine.
He's
fine.
I think he'd be a good Hal Jordan.
Yeah, you just kind of need to be. I mean, essentially, Ryan Reynolds was great casting. It's just the movie was not great. But you need that sort of confident, cocky.
That's why I'm thinking of him. He's got that. I think. Oh man, what is his name?
I don't know. I have no idea.
I'm gonna pull it up.
I have no idea. I like how everybody tuned out after the Cantina talk.
Yeah, sorry guys.
we're
really
fine.
We're having fun.
But yeah, I just want to see more Gareth Edwards stuff. And listen, if he's gonna go out and just start making
Glenn Powell.
Yeah.
Glenn Powell. Yeah.
But I mean, when your second movie is Godzilla and your third movie is Star Wars, like, you've done it. You're good.
Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah.
Go make more movies like the creator, because I thought he was in director's jail, and when I saw the trailer for Creator, I'm like, I'm there 100%.
Yeah, we talked about it. It was like that was absolutely. And I think we both
went on the show. Gareth on the
great.
show. A friend of the show is in contact with Gareth for something they're doing, and I'm going to try to needle that person because I don't know, like.
We don't need to talk about Rogue One. We can talk about anything. Like anything would be fun.
I just want to. The dude is so cool.
I think he'd be
nice.
Yeah.
So I got a Creator on iTunes, and there's like an hour-long documentary about the making of Creator. Watch it.
Cool.
Watch it if you can find it somewhere. Watch it. Stevie says she always jokes around that Gareth is Ralph's soulmate. Listen, dude, like the dude I spent one night with him. Like I spent like one party with him.
2 out of 4. Yeah.
And just listening to him talk, and the way I started talking to him at the party was, I said, Gareth, I've told this before, where he's on the Star Wars show on YouTube, and he quotes one line from Star Wars, and it's holding her as dangerous. That the word of this gets out, it could generate sympathy with the rebellion in the Senate, which is a line I quote for some reason because the ADR is so weird on that line. Holding her is dangerous. It's like
the way they're walking and talking. Yeah. It doesn't sound like a walk and talk line. Yeah.
Right. So anyway, like that's where I like totally was like, okay, this dude's rad. Rad, and I can't wait to see Star Wars, and I did, and it was amazing. But yeah, if we could get him on, that'd be terrific. You know what would be funny? Like if we got him and Michael on, because I had a big old long conversation with Giacchino about the Creator. And just talking about how just like, oh my god, it's so amazing. Like
I mean, between those two, and we've already had Gary on, like we're just hitting all of the Rogue One.
All the Rogue Ones. We said, dude, we need to get John Knoll.
John Knoll would be amazing. I'd love to chat to John Knoll.
I mean, I use Photoshop every single day.
Yeah. There you go.
Every day.
You see his name. You see his name every day. I did reach out to Paul. I'm not going to try and remember his surname. Carson Taver. I did reach out to him on Blue Sky, but I haven't heard back. I think he's probably similar to Daniel Day Kim. He's probably in the middle of promoting Avatar: The Last Airbender on
right. He's on Kim Plume show all the time.
Yeah, he's on a bunch. He seems like a good dude. He seems like someone that we could potentially chat to, but he's busy at the moment. Like everyone on that show is going to be busy. Same as you must have encountered that when you're trying to get Ken Leung and stuff like that. So there's a bunch of crossover cast in that show that I really, really hope is good. But
so that's what while we're in Hawaii, we're talking about people we have in the movie so far, and we don't have anybody from a James Bond, which I'm like trying to think. If we get John Terry, that would be a person from a James Bond movie. Mm-hmm. And then we don't have anybody from Star Wars, so we're kind of hoping to get Ken Leung on, or Greg Gumberg or JJ. They're there. They're there.
Or
in fact, I might call Bad Robot after we're done here because I need to give them a call and leave a message on their answer machine.
Perfect. I feel like that's a good time to wrap up, man.
Right.
We know what we're talking about in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, that Obi-Wan thing.
That Obi-Wan Star Wars.
It's like the Jedi Returns, or I'm gonna look it up real quick.
Cool.
Obi-Wan series documentary is called Obi-Wan Kenobi: A Jedi's Return from 2022.
There you go. God, 2 years old. Wild. That'll be in 2 weeks' time. There might be a data link next week. There might not be. Let's see how it goes with that one. But stay tuned.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm free, dude.
Yeah, me too. We can talk
just
about
do a BS.
I did invite Fantasy Flight Games, anyone from Fantasy Flight Games, if they want to come on the show to chat about Star Wars Unlimited, the upcoming card game, because they seem to be doing a bunch of promotion and stuff like that. And so if they want to come on and talk about that or show off some cards or things like that, that'd be fun, because that's coming
or
out
send
soon.
some cards for you to.
I mean, that'd be great. Like I'm gonna go to a pre-release event. I think it's March, like the week before it comes out. So I'll definitely be playing it and seeing what it's like. But it'd be fun to talk to them. I sort of, when I emailed them about it, I was like, we don't normally cover games as the main part of the show, but also we're not a gaming podcast, so you might be able to reach a different side of Star Wars audience. Who knows?
Yeah.
So, you know, we'll see what happens there. They might not be interested. They might be way into it.
Right.
That would be a fun like data link episode, I think, though. Just one of those sort of special ones that we do every now and then.
Right.
I don't have anything else about Star Wars though, so
No,
I think we should get out of here.
It's good to be back. It's good to see you again.
It
really
is. Yeah. I'm gonna get all the gossip about what happened in Hawaii. So until 2 weeks time, maybe next week. Don't give in to hate.
Celebrate the love.
Punch it.
James, we're still live.
Oh no, we're still live.
Yeah,
Bonus.
just because I mean, Sarah already said bye. So I'm extending. This is a post-credit scene. Hopefully, someone's still around. Stevie popped in while the credits were going, and I was like, I'll ask him when I'm done. But I'm going to ask you now.
Oh,
Stevie wants to know when you and Liz are going to be talking about tacos.
Okay. So yeah, I didn't mention it. Liz and I are starting a little side project that we've been talking about for a little while called Top 10 Tacos. So you can go and follow Top 10 Tacos on Instagram at the moment. I think that's the only place. I have got a Blue Sky for it, but I haven't really done anything with there yet. They're the only places that I'm going to be posting though, Blue Sky and Instagram. We have recorded a test episode just because she's not done anything like this before, so she wanted to just make sure she was comfortable doing it. We were both around this microphone while we did that. She has another mic from when she was having to work from home and doing, like, she was a teacher at the time, so she was, during the pandemic, she was teaching, so she has a pretty decent mic, but it's in a box somewhere, so we're going to have that hooked up. That's why there's a little stuffed taco behind me at the moment, in fact, actually. It will be audio only. It'll be it won't have a regular schedule. But we might record an episode this weekend. Yeah. So soon. So go follow that if you're interested, if you want to hear me and Liz talk about tacos, because there are some good tacos in the UK and we're going to try and hit them all.
Yeah, we're thinking if for some reason this movie pans out and I do get a payday of some sort, we were thinking about heading your way and visiting. And
amazing. Oh, that'd be great. We've got a spare room. You can stay in this room.
Okay.
There's not much going on in Southampton though, so like, you know,
I'm
come
gonna
and
sleep
see
in
us.
that wedge helmet for sure. But so everybody go check it out. Top 10 Tacos. I just followed it on Blue Sky. And then I don't know what happens now if I just hit end stream, because usually the whole reason I have that bumper at the end is because I could put like the subscribe button and the other videos. We've gone on way past the time, so I can't put those because you can only put those 20 seconds at the end of your video.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow.
And we are currently in the 20 seconds of the video. So that's just going to be a blank screen for however long that goes for. So I guess what I'll do is I'll just hit end stream. Everybody go follow Top 10 Tacos. Top 10 Tacos.
There you go. Go find it. There it is. It's everywhere.
Ooh, from Twitch. All right. See you guys.
See ya.